The smell of vanilla and warm blueberries filled Ellie Brooks's tiny kitchen at 5:30 in the morning. She pulled the tray of muffins from the oven, the heat brushing her face like a gentle reminder that this was still her life, the one she had built from scratch after walking away from everything else. For 3 years now in the quiet hills outside Charlottesville, Virginia, she had baked every single morning for the residents of Sunnybrook Veterans Nursing Home, driving the boxes over before the sun fully rose. It was her way of giving back without the spotlight, without the name that came with expectations she could never meet. She loaded the warm containers into the back of her old Honda Civic and drove the winding road to Sunnybrook. The brick building sat nestled among oak trees, American flags snapping softly in the breeze. Ellie carried the boxes inside, the familiar squeak of her sneakers on the linoleum floor mixing with the low murmur of early risers. Residents greeted her with the same tired but genuine smiles they always did. "Morning, Miss Ellie," Colonel Samuel Klein called from his usual spot near the window. At 92, the old soldier sat straight-backed in his wheelchair despite the pain that never left his joints. "What kind of trouble did you bake us today?" "Blueberry muffins, Colonel. Extra crumb topping, just how you like them." She set a muffin on a napkin and slid it in front of him. He took a slow bite, eyes closing in appreciation. Then he looked up at her again, really looked. His weathered face changed. "Whitaker," he said quietly, the word landing like a dropped shell. "You told me your name was Brooks, but those eyes, that jawline. You're Eleanor Whitaker, General Robert Whitaker's granddaughter. I'd bet my last medal on it." The second muffin tray nearly slipped from Ellie's hands. The common room noise faded to a dull hum. She forced a laugh that sounded hollow even to her own ears. "You must be thinking of someone else, Colonel. I'm just Ellie who bakes too much." Colonel Klein shook his head slowly. "I served under your grandfather in Vietnam. 1968 Tet Offensive. He dragged me out of a rice paddy when my squad thought I was finished." The man had more courage in one finger than most generals had in their whole staff. The Whitaker name meant something. Still does. "What in God's name are you doing hiding in a kitchen when your family runs half the Veterans Foundations on the East Coast?" A few other residents turned their heads. Whispers started. Ellie felt her chest tighten, the familiar weight of the name she had buried pressing down again. She mumbled something about needing to check the coffee and fled to the hallway, heart hammering. The colonel's voice followed her gently. "Your grandfather saved my life, girl. Least I can do is tell the truth when I see it." She stayed longer than usual that morning, listening to Klein share stories about her grandfather's leadership, the way he had written letters to every fallen soldier's family, the private scholarships he funded long before the Whitaker Foundation became a national name. Each detail carved deeper into the guilt she had carried for 8 years. When she finally left Sunnybrook, the sun was fully up and her hands would not stop shaking on the steering wheel. Back in her apartment, Ellie stood at the sink rinsing the empty trays when the front door opened. Jordan Hale walked in, still wearing her ID badge from the nursing home where she worked as a social worker. Her dark hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and the moment she saw Ellie's face she knew something was wrong. "Talk to me," Jordan said softly, crossing the room and taking the sponge from Ellie's rigid fingers. "You look like you saw a ghost." Ellie leaned into her, breathing in the faint scent of hospital soap and the lavender lotion Jordan always wore. "A resident recognized me today. The real me, Colonel Klein. He served with my grandfather." Jordan pulled back just enough to search her eyes. "The General Whitaker? The one whose portrait is in half the VA buildings in Virginia." "The same." Ellie's voice cracked. "He told everyone. Started talking about the family legacy, the service, the honor. I thought I left all that behind when I changed my name and moved here. Now it's following me into the one place I felt useful." Jordan wrapped her arms around her tighter. "You are useful, Ellie. You show up every single day for those men and women with nothing but kindness and fresh muffins. That's legacy too." But Ellie could not shake the look in Colonel Klein's eyes, the pride mixed with confusion. She had spent years convincing herself that walking away from her family's expectations was the only honest choice after they made it clear a lesbian daughter had no place in the Whitaker story. Now the past was knocking, and she did not know if she had the strength to keep the door closed. That evening Ellie and Jordan sat on the small balcony overlooking the backyard, a bottle of cheap red wine between them. The air was thick with late summer humidity and the distant sound of cicadas. Jordan listened without interrupting as Ellie recounted every word Colonel Klein had said, the way the other residents had started looking at her differently, the pride in his voice when he spoke of her grandfather. "I never told you the full story," Ellie admitted, staring into her glass. "My father died when I was 24. Heart attack right after he made brigadier general. The family expected me to step up, to represent the name, maybe even join the foundation. Then I brought Jordan home for Christmas. My mother cried. My brother Marcus told me I was destroying everything grandfather built. They gave me a choice. Stay quiet, date who they wanted, or leave. I left." Jordan reached across the table and took her hand. "You never have to apologize for choosing yourself. But I hate that you carried this alone." The phone rang before Ellie could answer. The number was unfamiliar, but the area code was Northern Virginia, close to the family estate. She answered on speaker. "Eleanor? It's your mother." Victoria Whitaker's voice was polished, controlled, the same tone she used at fundraisers. "A Colonel Klein contacted the foundation today. He said he found you. We've been looking for years, darling. Your brother and I want to see you. There's a memorial gala next month honoring your grandfather's centennial. The family needs you there." Ellie's grip tightened on the phone. "I'm not coming back, Mom. I have a life here." "A life hiding?" Her mother's voice sharpened. "Baking cookies for veterans while the foundation your grandfather started struggles without family leadership? Marcus is doing his best, but the board wants a Whitaker face. We can help so many more people if you come home. Think of the veterans, Eleanor. The ones who served with your grandfather." The guilt hit hard. Ellie thought of the residents at Sunnybrook who waited for her muffins, the ones who told her their stories because she listened without judgment. Jordan watched her face, eyes full of quiet worry. "I'll think about it," Ellie said finally, hating the weakness in her own voice. After the call ended, Jordan stood up slowly. "You said you'd think about it. After everything they put you through." "It's not that simple," Ellie snapped, the tension of the day spilling out. "My grandfather's name opens doors for veterans programs. If going to one gala means more funding, more help for people like Colonel Klein, maybe I owe that." Jordan's expression tightened. "And what about us? Do you owe me the truth about how much this still controls you?" They went to bed without resolving anything, the space between them in the queen bed feeling wider than the years Ellie had spent running. In the dark, Ellie lay awake, replaying her mother's words and Colonel Klein's stories, the weight of legacy pressing against the fragile peace she had built with Jordan. The next morning at Sunnybrook, several residents asked about her family. Word had spread. Colonel Klein apologized for upsetting her but could not hide his pride. "Your grandfather would be so damn happy to know you're still serving in your own way," he said. "But the foundation could do so much more with you at the table." Ellie smiled through the knot in her stomach. When she got home that afternoon, a sleek black town car was parked outside her building. Her brother Marcus stepped out in a crisp dress shirt, looking every inch the future general their father had wanted him to be. "Ellie," he said, "we need to talk. In person." Marcus followed her inside the apartment, his polished shoes looking out of place on her worn rug. He refused the coffee she offered and got straight to the point. "The foundation is hemorrhaging donors. They want the Whitaker name visible again. Mom's health isn't great, and the board thinks a reconciled daughter at the gala would signal stability. We're prepared to increase funding to smaller homes like Sunnybrook. Significantly." Ellie crossed her arms. "So this is a bribe?" "It's an opportunity," Marcus corrected. "You walked away because you wanted to live openly. Fine. But you're still a Whitaker. Blood doesn't change. Come to the gala, stand beside us for one night, and we can help the very people you claim to care about." Jordan came home midway through the conversation and froze in the doorway. Marcus's eyes flicked to her, then back to Ellie. The temperature in the room dropped. "I see you're still with her," he said carefully. Jordan lifted her chin. "Her name is Jordan. And yes, we're still together." Marcus exhaled. "Look, I'm not here to rehash old fights. But the gala will have press. Conservative donors. If you bring Jordan as your date, it could cost us millions in pledges. We're asking you to be strategic, Ellie. For the greater good. The greater good. The phrase echoed everything their family had ever used to justify control. Ellie felt the old rage and shame twist together. She thought of the single mothers at the home who relied on the small grants the foundation sometimes provided. The aging veterans who needed adaptive equipment. Jordan spoke quietly. You don't have to choose between us and them, Ellie. But you do have to choose whether you're going to keep hiding parts of yourself to make them comfortable. Marcus left after extracting a promise that Ellie would at least visit the estate the following weekend to discuss details. When the door closed, Jordan turned to her. Are you actually considering this? Pretending we're just friends for a night, so your family can keep their donors happy? I don't know, Ellie whispered. If it means real help for the residents, real money that changes lives. Jordan's eyes filled with hurt. And what changes for us? Every time you step back into that world, you shrink a little. I see it. The weekend visit to the family estate outside Leesburg was worse than Ellie expected. Her mother hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes, then immediately began planning the gala outfit, steering the conversation away from Jordan every time her name came up. Marcus showed her spreadsheets of veterans programs that would benefit from renewed funding. The pressure was relentless and wrapped in love and duty. On the drive home, Ellie cried silently while Jordan drove. The moral weight felt crushing. Was protecting her relationship more important than helping hundreds of veterans who had sacrificed everything? Or was using her identity as currency the real betrayal? The night of the gala arrived faster than Ellie wanted. She told Jordan she was going alone to keep the peace, promising it was just one evening. Jordan had nodded, but the silence in their apartment afterward felt like a fracture. At the grand ballroom in Washington, Ellie stood beside her mother and brother as photographers flashed. She wore the elegant black gown they had chosen, her hair styled in the polished way the family preferred. Old colleagues of her grandfather approached, praising the Whitaker legacy, asking when she would return full-time. Each compliment felt like a chain tightening. Halfway through the evening, Marcus pulled her aside. There's someone I want you to meet. Captain Lauren Hayes. Impressive record, good family. The press would love a photo of the two of you. It doesn't have to mean anything, Ellie. Just optics. The suggestion landed like a slap. Ellie looked across the room at the woman her brother had chosen, polished and smiling, everything the family wanted. For one terrible moment she considered it. Imagine the funding that would flow, the lives improved at Sunnybrook and beyond. Instead she found her voice. I'm not doing this. I'm not pretending to be someone else anymore. Marcus's face hardened. You're being selfish. Again. The argument escalated in a private side room. Voices rose. Her mother joined, pleading and then accusing. When Ellie finally walked out of the gala early, her phone buzzed with a text from Jordan. Colonel Klein just told me you're in the papers with your family. Alone. Call me. The betrayal cut both ways. Jordan had driven to the event on instinct after seeing social media posts, and found Ellie slipping out the side entrance. They argued in the parking garage, raw and painful. You lied to me, Jordan said, tears streaming. You said it was just family business. But you let them parade you around like the prodigal daughter, while I sat home wondering if I was still part of your life. Ellie reached for her, but Jordan stepped back. I love you, but I can't keep being the secret you're ashamed of when the world gets hard. The drive home was silent. Ellie felt the cost of every choice she had made that night. The fracture in her relationship, the angry texts from her mother, the knowledge that the foundation might pull support from smaller homes out of spite. She had tried to walk the line and ended up hurting everyone. 2 weeks later, Ellie stood in the Sunnybrook common room with fresh banana bread, the scent filling the space. Colonel Klein watched her with kind, tired eyes. The funding from the Whitaker Foundation had indeed been reduced after the gala fallout, and the home was feeling the pinch. I'm sorry if I caused trouble by speaking up, the old soldier said. But hiding who you are never honors the people who fought for freedom. Your grandfather believed in duty, but he also believed in truth. He told me once that the hardest battles are the ones inside. Ellie sat beside him. I chose Jordan. I chose honesty, but it cost the home money. It cost me my family, maybe for good this time. Colonel Klein placed his wrinkled hand over hers. Legacy isn't a name on a building, child. It's the kindness you bring into rooms like this. Every morning. Every muffin. That's the real service. Jordan arrived after her shift, hesitant at first. They talked for a long time in the quiet garden behind the home. Ellie apologized for the secrecy, for the doubt, for letting old fears make her small. Jordan admitted her own insecurities, the fear that Ellie's powerful family would always pull harder than their love. They chose each other again, not perfectly but honestly. Ellie started a small crowdfunding campaign for Sunnybrook that surprised everyone by gaining traction through veteran networks. She kept baking. She kept showing up. Her mother sent one letter asking her to reconsider, but Ellie replied with the truth. She would always love her family, but she would no longer shrink herself to fit their legacy. Months later, as autumn leaves turned in Virginia, Ellie and Jordan stood in their kitchen baking together for the first time in months. Flour dusted their hands. Laughter returned. The scars remained, but so did the strength they had earned. In the end, was Ellie right to turn her back on her powerful family legacy to live openly with the woman she loved? Or did she selfishly abandon a greater duty to honor those who came before her?